These beautiful mountains are located in Vermont, in the northeastern part of the United States. Over 85% of the state is covered by forests, which provide homes to a wide variety of living things, including deer, birds, moose, and turkeys, to name just a few. The remaining landscape is covered by houses, roads, cities, towns, and fields. But Vermont, along with many other places in the Northeast and Canada, was not always forested. In fact, 150 years ago, nearly 80% of the forest in Vermont had been cleared for settlements, grazing, and farming. People had a remarkable influence in altering the natural environment, and people have also played a major role in restoring it. Chances are the chair in which you're sitting, some of the food you ate for breakfast, the home in which you live, and the clothes you're wearing were made from natural resources. Natural resources are products or energy which are obtained from the environment and used by people. An example of a natural resource is water, which nearly all animals drink. We use water to wash dishes and clothing. The air which we breathe is also a natural resource, as is the sun, which warms the earth. We heat our homes with natural resources, such as firewood, fuel oil, or natural gas. In many cases, advances in technology have enabled humans to make resources useful. For example, by grinding up this calcium carbonate rock into very fine powder, it can be used as a major component in paper, thus decreasing the number of trees needed to produce new paper. Natural resources can be classified into two major groups: renewable resources and non-renewable resources. You decide. What are renewable resources? Renewable resources, such as trees, are natural resources that can be replenished or renewed. These wild blueberries are a renewable resource in that they grow every year. The sun is also a renewable resource in that its energy will not run out for a very long time. Similarly, wind is another renewable resource in that it cannot be exhausted. And in some places, such as in the Gaspé Peninsula in Quebec, Canada, wind can be used to turn electrical generators. In Iceland, renewable steam from deep underground is used to heat homes, and is even used to produce electricity in generating plants. Water is also a renewable resource, since it's continually cycled. But just because a resource is renewable does not mean it cannot be exhausted. Here in the heartland of the United States, water is being taken deep from underground at a rate that is faster than it can be replaced. Eventually, the underground water source will be exhausted because it cannot be replaced quickly enough. The energy used to propel these cars and heat these homes comes from a non-renewable resource. You decide. What is this non-renewable resource? This non-renewable resource is oil. A non-renewable resource is a resource that is available in limited quantities and cannot be replaced quickly. Oil, for example, is pumped from underground wells. And once the supply is exhausted, oil cannot be replenished. Eventually, these oil supplies will run out, and an alternative source of energy will need to be utilized. Most minerals extracted from the earth are also non-renewable resources. At this very moment, our non-renewable resources are dwindling. But there is something we can do about it. Resource conservation is the process by which resources are used wisely and sparingly to ensure that they will last long into the future. In the United States, in the early 1970s, oil became scarce, creating an energy crisis. In response, people began to conserve energy, which meant driving less, turning off lights when not needed, and turning down thermostats in homes. These are examples of reducing the use of natural resources. Recycling is another form of conservation. Recycling is the process of changing or reprocessing a resource so it can be reused. Believe it or not, a large portion of this jacket is made from recycled plastics. And these bottles, newspapers, and plastics will be reprocessed to make other products. We can also conserve natural resources by reusing things. For example, instead of throwing out cardboard boxes, this company reuses them to hold other items. And they also reuse office paper for scrap paper. These are just a few examples of how we can reduce, recycle, and reuse our valuable natural resources. Have you ever smelled dirty air? Or looked into a river or lake that looked dirty? Or seen garbage strewn across the landscape? These are all examples of pollution. You decide. What is pollution? Pollution is the process of contaminating the environment. Water pollution is a common form of pollution and is still a big problem in the world. A major source of water pollution in many places is human waste, also called sewage. As recently as 30 years ago, large amounts of sewage were carelessly dumped into rivers, streams, and lakes. But today, most industrialized countries use sewage treatment facilities, also called wastewater plants, to greatly reduce water pollution. Here in this wastewater plant, sewage, along with other wastewater, is treated through a number of steps. The widespread implementation of wastewater plants has played a huge role in reducing water pollution. Industrial sites may be another source of water pollution. 30 years ago, factories such as this one dumped harmful pollutants into this lake, which have had a lasting negative effect to this day. Pollution which comes from a known fixed point is referred to as point source pollution. More elusive and somewhat more difficult to deal with are non-point pollution sources. In the United States and Canada, one of the most prevalent examples of non-point source water pollution stems from agricultural practices. For example, pesticides and herbicides used on crops may run into waterways. In urban and suburban areas, stormwater runoff may carry sediment and harmful chemicals into streams, rivers, and lakes. Such non-point sources of pollution are not only harmful to plants and animals living in these bodies of water, but may also contaminate the water we drink. Have you ever seen or smelled air that didn't seem clean? Air pollution is the direct contamination of air with harmful substances. Air pollution can also be caused when chemical reactions occur in the air and create harmful substances. A close look at the air above most cities reveals a brownish haze resulting from pollution from cars and other sources. This haze is referred to as smog. Smog consists of pollutants, dust particles, and other matter. On some days, smog from California and Mexico can even be seen here in the Grand Canyon. Another major environmental concern is acid rain. Acid rain or acid precipitation consists of rain or snow which is more acid than normal. Acid rain is created when pollutants such as sulfur and nitrogen oxide enter the atmosphere and combine with water vapor to form acids. These acids then fall to Earth in the form of acid rain. In many cases, acid precipitation is believed to be harmful to plants as well as to organisms which live in the water, such as fish. One of the largest present-day concerns is the effect air pollutants may have on global climate. Researchers are now struggling to understand why the Earth's overall climate is warming. You decide. What's a possible cause of global warming? Many hypothesize that increased amounts of carbon dioxide resulting from the burning of fossil fuels such as oil, gas, and coal have created a reaction in the atmosphere, which has resulted in the warming of the Earth. The issue of global warming will undoubtedly be a major topic during the years ahead. In some shallow, warmer parts of the ocean lie astonishingly colorful zones of life called coral reefs. Coral reefs provide a haven to hundreds of different species of plants and animals. Coral reefs are high in biological diversity. Biological diversity, or biodiversity for short, refers to the relative number of species in an area. The Florida Everglades is an area which has a relatively high biodiversity. But during the past 200 years, biodiversity here has been threatened. Large areas of the Everglades have experienced habitat destruction due to areas converted to growing crops and building houses. The term habitat refers to the home of a living thing. When habitats are destroyed, living things have no place to live, and they die. In some cases, if enough habitat destruction occurs, or if living things are destroyed by other factors, an entire species may be wiped out. Here in the Florida Everglades, it's feared that many species, including the Florida panther, will soon become extinct. The Florida panther is an endangered species, meaning that it's in danger of completely dying out. Rare tree snails in the Everglades are also in danger of becoming extinct and are listed as endangered species. The American alligator, also found in the Everglades, was once nearly extinct, but has made a marked recovery. Beyond habitat destruction, another great threat to the Everglades are exotic species. Exotic species are plants or animals that are released into places where they did not previously exist. These Australian pines are exotic species, as is the Brazilian pepper. Exotic species can be harmful if allowed to disrupt the natural ecological balance of an area. During the past few minutes, we've explored some of the ways people interact with the environment. We looked at a few examples of how we all use natural resources. And we studied how some natural resources are renewable and some are non-renewable. Then we explored some of the ways resources may be conserved by reducing, recycling, and reusing. The contamination or pollution of the environment was discussed. with special attention paid to water and air pollution. Finally, we explored the concepts of biodiversity, habitat destruction, species extinction, and the harmful effects of exotic species. So, the next time you use a natural resource, recycle a can, or have the opportunity to see an endangered species, think about the ways you interact with the environment. You might just look at your world a little differently. Fill in the correct word to complete the sentence. Good luck, and let's get started. Number 1. The sun is an example of a resource. Number 2. Oil is an example of a resource. Number 3. Resource is the process of wisely using natural resources. Number 4. Driving less is an example of resource consumption. Number 5. Glass, plastic, and paper may all be Number 6 is the process of contaminating the environment. Number 7. This plant is responsible for treating Number 8. This factory is an example of source pollution. Number 9. Destruction is a major cause of species extinction. And number 10. The Florida panther is an species.